Hello plant people, how are you guys doing today? If you're new around here, my name is Ashley and I'm a soil scientist. On this channel, I like to take that science and apply it to all things plants. And in today's video, we're talking about rooting hormones. So this is a great video for houseplant people, but also for those gardeners out there. So a really common method to get some really nice foliage ornamentally, or to get some really nice early fruit and vegetable production in the early summer months, is through using cuttings. So you can take cuttings from tomato plants, cannabis plants, pepper plants, and then you can of course do more of your decorative plants per se, all in a cutting format. So we're going to be talking about root hormones specifically, the product, and then some of the DIY hacks out there, and whether or not those are actually rooting hormones or what exactly is going on there. So this, I guess, would be part of this series where we debunk garden hacks. Okay, so a little bit of everything. Let's get started with the actual product itself. So there's a ton of different products on the market. There's a Wilson's brand, which is a gel brand. There is the powder, and then there is a liquid. Ultimately, they are all identical in some sense or another, and they all contain IBA. Now, there are 3 different products that all of which could be characterized as rooting hormone, but plants in general naturally produce something we like to call auxins, and auxins are our growth hormones, and they control the displacement or the eruption of roots from a plant. And when the root hormone is present in the plant in excess, obviously it can utilize that, but then also a cutting in general only has a finite amount of actual IBA or auxin within it. And so once that battery runs out, there's nothing else to pull that reserve from, and that is where something like an actual root hormone would kick in. So with the rooting hormone, there is different levels or different percentages of IBA present. And IBA is a really fancy word or acronym that stands for a very fancy actual compound that we like to call indole 3-butyric acid. So that is IBA. The other option, which is also present in plants but is not actually present in the rooting hormone itself that you buy from the store, is IAA, which is indole 3-acetic acid. So IAA, and then there is a heavily, it's completely man-made. It doesn't naturally occur in nature, and it's called an NAA. And that is alpha naphthalene acetic acid. That one's completely man-made. That one doesn't occur naturally in nature. Now, IBA, which is what is actually in the products itself, isn't derived from a plant. It is man-made. It is different than the plant-derived option. However, IBA in nature and in the man-made form is slightly more stable and can last without denaturing for extended periods of time. There is actual expiry dates on these, to make sure you follow those. It doesn't mean that it's bad or it's going to go moldy or it's going to harm your plant or it's going to harm humans or the environment, nothing like that. It's just that it denatures, and so it just doesn't work in the same way that it should. So it does expire over time. In nature, in an actual plant, IBA is stable. IAA, however, is completely unstable. So even naturally occurring in the plant, an IAA hormone, auxin hormone, very quickly the compound denatures. And so regardless of what you use, it is a compound that has an expiry date and something that will not last in the plant for extended periods of time. And that also goes for in the environment as well. So if we are eating from this plant, say it's a herbaceous plant such as basil, or it's producing fruits such as tomatoes or peppers, that IBA isn't going to be present when it comes to actually eating the plant. There's a lot of studies that have been done on this to see how a concentrated IBA is actually taken up into the plant. And it's anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, which is obviously nowhere near natural harvesting would take place. Maybe for the basil, but even if you did ingest it, it's completely non-toxic. Unless you literally ate pounds and pounds of it, then I'm sure something horrible would happen to you, but for all intents and purposes, you'll be just fine. In the environment, same thing plays out. It denatures very quickly, and then actually is when it starts pushing the 2-week denature point. So it denatures much faster in the presence of moisture, heat, sun, all that fun stuff. It's very, very quick to fall apart, essentially, for lack of a better term. So like I said, there is gels, there is powder, and there is liquid. Each one will come with its own set of instructions, and you should follow them almost directly. The one thing I do see quite often is people dipping their cutting in water and then dipping it into the powdered root hormone. Don't do that. It just ends up with area on the actual cutting itself where the plant can't breathe properly, and we end up with mold mold and mildew buildup and sometimes some fungal growth. So to avoid that, you simply just want to take your cutting and place it into your rooting hormone. I don't dump it out into a separate container, and then I really tap it off quite well, and I just leave like a nice light dusting on there, as you can see here. Now this can be placed in water. I find it gets a little mucky when it's powdered water, or you can place this directly in soil. I highly recommend just propagating into soil when possible, propagating into sphagnum moss, perlite, something with some sort of grit to it to really build up those cells or the cuticle layers on the outsides of our plant roots. So with an apical meristem or with just a plant root in general, we want to toughen up the skin of the root, and that happens very, very nicely in the presence of some sort of something for it to rub against. It's the same thing with our hands as gardeners. We have nice pretty hands in the winter because we have lotion, we're not using them, we're not putting them to good use. But in the summertime, the springtime, we get calluses and you name it, and it's because we're actually manipulating our hands or abrasing putting abrasive substances onto our hands, and that's ultimately what makes a nice thick coat, and that's what we want on our actual roots themselves. Another thing you're going to realize right off the bat with your root formulas is they'll have a number on them. So it'll be 1 through 3, or it will say softwood, semi-hardwood, or hardwood, all these different kinds of lingos. You do want to make sure you get the root hormone that is meant for the type of plant you're propagating. So for a majority of our winter propagations that we would be doing, we would go with a number 1 or something with a 0.1% IBA concentration. So in this case, 0.1% IBA concentration. And so when we go with a lower concentration, we are just fine. However, if we do a semi-hardwood or a hardwood cutting, such as a rose or a hydrangea, you name it, we do need to get a higher concentration of IBA product in the actual grow formula in and of itself. So you have to go with either an all-purpose that does all 3 versions, meaning it will probably have an IBA concentration of 0.7 or higher percentage-wise, or you have to select it specific for what you're growing. Now, if you don't intend to do a ton of cuttings, but you want to be able to have a wide range of what you need, this stuff, you don't use much. Like, I'm a plant person, I'm a houseplant person, and I'm a gardener, and I can't even use this stuff up before it expires 99.9% of the time. And so the best way to get the best bang for your buck would be to get the all-purpose formula. And in some cases, more is not always better, but you can use the hardwood formulas on a soft cutting. It's a little hack there. Now, should you use a soft cutting formula on a hardwood cutting? No, because it won't turn out well. You likely will rot the plant. You won't get enough root development to support the plant itself. So just something to keep in mind. So the subscriber who gave me this Mikins, if you're watching, he's happy still. It's sent over by a subscriber. I've had him, I think, 2 years now. You know who you are. I don't like saying names because people have private lives, right? So now let's get into the homemade version. So that's kind of the ins and outs of the actual product itself and how it works and why it works. Let's talk about home DIY methods. So when it comes to home DIY methods, this is 4 really common at-home DIYs we see. And let's just kind of go through each one of these. There are 2 methods that I just don't physically have the item for, so we'll talk about those, but those are the best methods, so we're gonna save those for last. So the first one is honey. Honey is a really common thing that people talk about when it comes to rooting, and there's no auxin, IBA, or IAA in any shape or form inside of honey. However, it is an antifungal and it is an antibacterial. So if you're not able to control abiotic factors such as temperature, moisture, air movement, that sort of thing, you're ending up with fungal growth or bacterial growth, then yes, of course, you can lean on honey to help you manage those abiotic factors given your environment. But if you can manually manipulate those abiotic factors with your cuttings, you will be much better off. So honey here is some really great stuff. But like I said, it has 0 auxin or growth hormone in it, so you cannot rely on this to actually help out with your growth hormone in general. So that one is strictly abiotic control factors. The next one is apple cider vinegar. So this one's a quite commonly mentioned as an option. So this is organic apple cider vinegar. This is literally the stuff I use to cook with. But apple cider vinegar is, again, an abiotic factor control. There's zero auxin, there's zero IBA or AAA in this product. So again, it's just controlling those abiotic factors that you yourself can control. You don't need apple cider vinegar to do it for you. Next up is aloe. So this is off my big bad boy back there. My cats decided to like have a heyday in the back end of this like plant stand thing, and my aloe was one of the plants that went with it. So he's like super gimped up looking. I don't know if you guys have noticed that in the last few videos. Anyways, this is an aloe leaf here that I broke off, but it is a great example of, again, a product that people will use to help with rooting hormone. And if you've ever seen like the 5-minute DIY crafts, like people will like plant directly into the aloe. So with the aloe, because it is a plant, it of course has both IBA and IAA, so both the relatively stable form and the not so stable form of auxin or growth hormone within this plant, meaning you could technically get some growth hormone activity out of a cutting if you use the sap from aloe vera. Now keep in mind, the concentration is much lower in this physical plant than it would be in a product that you purchase. It would be even lower than that of which is in the soft tissue formulas of this product itself. So with that being said, you could use it and you may see benefits for it, especially if you're doing like indoor house plants, for example. It would be a great option. There also is the fact that it adds an extra layer of skin and it almost calluses the end of the plant. So it's definitely something that is a touch above or gets a few more brownie points for me than this product or this layer of products over here. So aloe, you know, has a bit, but not a lot. The next product is cinnamon. So we did a whole video on cinnamon. I think it's again in the plant hack series, and I talked about the fact that it is antifungal and it is antibacterial. It has been proven. There are studies, legitimate studies out there showing that that is the case. Now keep in mind, it's very common to use this for seed starting, and people who have used it for seed starting will be some of the first to tell you that it works sometimes and other times it does not. And that comes down to the quality of the cinnamon and how fresh it is. So just like our regular hormones in our plants, our IBAs and our IAAs, properties or beneficial properties within the plant tend to go down or diminish over time. So if you have cinnamon that's been in the cupboard for 6 months, a year, probably not going to serve as an antifungal or an antibacterial very well. But if it is fresh, it will. It also will dry out any cuttings that you do have. So that end that seems relatively fresh, it will obviously help dry that out a bit quicker. But there's no IBA, there is no AAA, there's no auxin hormone platform within cinnamon. So again, it is only controlling our abiotic factors that you yourself can very easily control within your home. So it kind of gets put into the world of apple cider vinegar and honey in this case. Now, what I don't have in front of me that actually has been shown to work is willow. So willow has an incredibly high level of both IBA and IAA. And the most common way of using willow to help with rooting any sort of plant is actually boiling it into a tea. So boiling it in a tea, allowing it to cool off, and then watering the plant or simply placing the plant cuttings inside of water made of willow tea in this case. And so it is kind of the same idea as the pothos cutting. We did a whole video on pothos cuttings. Now pothos, there's a theory or there's a hypothesis out there that pothos can help other plants root. And my hypothesis to why that theory may be true is because I believe that pothos has a really high level of auxin in it, similar to that of what willow would have, an abnormal excess of auxin that can't be used fully by the pothos itself, and so therefore it ends up in the water, and then as it ends up in the water, it's taken up by the other plants and then utilized. Same scenario happens with willow. So with willow trees, we can boil them, all parts of the actual plant, boil them in a tea and then use them in our propagations, whether that be through watering in the soil or through actually doing a water propagation. So with the willow though, IAA, like I said, doesn't matter what plant it's from, it's very unstable, so it will denature pretty quickly, but the IBA will stick around for, an extended period of time. Obviously, you're gonna have to refresh the water and stuff, and it's something that you'll have to keep up with. So that is something to keep in mind. And the last one is aspirin. Really common at-home DIY trick. I talked about aspirin and salicylic acid. I did a whole video on this, so if you guys want more info on that, be sure to check that out. And it is true. Salicylic acid is shown to really help with plant growth. I'm pretty sure I gave the formula, and I also gave the product, like the exact product and the formula I used for that product. I have that all on that aspirin video, which you guys can go check out. So if you're starting to do cuttings, whether that be for an outdoor ornamental or outdoor growing, right now is the time to start. If you're starting to see it, go for it. But if you want to get your hands dirty and you want to do it in a way that's constructive, try doing cuttings. You may see some really, really great results. And then you houseplant folk out there, you just do your cuttings like you always do, because why not? But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below if you use rooting hormone, if you use a DIY method, which method do you enjoy and why. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.